Well, hello. Here's a little story about the little satellite that could. My name is John Rhines. My amateur radio call sign is KA1TDQ, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, just for a quick background on me, I've been a ham radio operator since I was 15 years old. Got licensed in 1989. And I've done a lot of building over the years, and I do a lot of exotic things like as far back as vacuum tube transmitters and amplifiers, and I've built high efficiency modern Class C solid state transmitters, among other things, as well as space operations. I've done high powered moon bounce and satellites, which we're going to get into now. So the little satellite that could. Back in 1974, AMSAT, the Amateur Radio Satellite Organization for North America, launched a satellite called Oscar 7. They named it numerically. Oscar 7 was that one of the year. And it was a simple satellite, but it turned out to be very robust. So it was launched in 1974, and it had two modes. It had mode A and mode B. And one of them was, not to get too technical, but mode A is 2 meters up and 70 centimeters down. So it's a repeater, basically, transponder. And mode B was 2 meters up and 10 meters down. Both of those modes had a beacon on it. And what a beacon is a transmitter that goes all the time. It just continually goes and goes and goes, giving information about the satellite. So the story on this satellite, so it was launched in 1974, and it kept going for about 7 years. In 1981, it died. One of the batteries, the cell shorted, and it killed the power of the whole thing. Well, it was written off as dead. You know, it did it. They got their money out of it. It did its thing, and that was that. So obviously, NORAD is still tracking this thing. Just to give you a little glimpse here, this is the Oscar 7 track, current live track right now. It's supposed to go over Greenland and go over North America. Then in like 2001 or so, some guy in Europe said, I'm going to give this thing a call just to see if it's. Lo and behold, it answered. He could hear himself through the transponder. So what happened? Well, what happened was that battery cell that was shorted back in 1981, sometime over those years, opened up, and this satellite is in orbit, operating only on solar panels and working fine. So he spread the news, and the amateur community's been using it ever since. All these years later, now it's 2026. So this happens to be the oldest operating satellite in orbit. Now, the only competing satellites for that title are Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, which were built by NASA. But those were launched in 1977, and they're way up there. You can't hear those. You need NASA's Deep Space Network is the only thing that can communicate with them. But with Oscar 7 operating on solar panels, you can hear this thing with this. This is a little, like a $30 radio you can get off of eBay. 29.502 megahertz, upper sideband. So you have to have an upside antenna, which I have. And you can hear that beacon. Now what that beacon does, that 10 meter beacon on 29 megahertz, it talks in Morse code. It talks in Morse code. So the first thing it'll say is hi, H-I, like hi. It's 4 dits and 2 dits. That says hi. Now, after that, it says 3 sets of numbers: the temperature of the onboard satellite, the voltage of the solar panels, and the current draw. the amount of power it's consuming, all in just numbers. So it'll say a series of numbers after that. Pause, and it'll say the cycle over again, high numbers, high numbers, high numbers. And that's mode A. And mode B, which it switches to, it'll switch between mode A and mode B every 24 hours, as long as it's powered up. So as long as it's in sunlight, and right now it says it's in sunlight, which it almost always is, every 24 hours it'll switch between mode A and mode B. Now in mode B, the beacon is on 2 meters, 140 something megahertz. And it'll transmit its data, not in Morse code, but in radio teletype at 48 baud, for essentially 48 bits. It's, nowadays we talk about megabits and gigabits, and this is bits. But you still need specialized equipment to decode it. A radio teletype it sounds like, but you can't copy that in your head. You have to use a computer. But it's just at 48 bits. It's very simple. It'll give the same information, but it's just in a different format. The Morse code is around 13 words per minute. A word is about 5 letters. You can copy that. But mode B is a little more complicated. By today's standards, it's still slow, but you still can't understand it. You just can't understand it. So here is a picture of two of the guys building this thing. Now this thing was built in someone's basement. All right, Oscar 7 was built in someone's basement. Before flight, it was tested at the NASA's Goddard Space Center to certify for flight. But they built this thing in the basement. They had a little plastic. Their clean room was plastic, like hung up on the ceiling. Very robust. And the stabilization on this satellite is very interesting. They used magnets and a specialized type of wire, all crude, but simple, super simple, but enough to, when that thing is going around the Earth in its sun-synchronous orbit around the poles, so it's almost always bathed in sunlight. The magnets literally help kind of keep it stable from spinning too much, and it's a passive system, completely passive system that just works. Now here's the thing. There's nothing to stop this satellite from continuing to work. It's been in orbit for 52 years. And as long as those solar panels hold out from 1974, which may be another 50 or 100 years, who knows, that will be the oldest and longest almost continuously operating satellite built. It's quite an accomplishment. That wasn't the mission when it was built. When it was built, it had a lifespan of 5 or 6 years or so. They didn't think this thing would last forever. Well, there it is. And we're still using it today. It gives interesting applications for if someone wants to build a modern day longevity satellite operating on solar only. If this worked by accident back in 1974, it'll continue operating forever. By accident. What if we designed the satellite to do the same thing? I'm pontificating. Anyway, so that's the story of Oscar 7 that still holds the title of oldest operating satellite, still in operation, still works just fine, 100%. Up there in orbit, just spinning around. Always above us. Isn't that something? You may not know it's there, but he knows you're there. Hey, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the story. Maybe even try Oscar 7. Might be a little fun.